Hello, and welcome to another webinar. We've been producing a pretty good series here, and we've already covered a lot of the meat and potatoes of what goes into managing an effective rental. We've talked about licensing, we've talked about preventative maintenance, we've talked about finding good quality tenants, and we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing to try to keep them as long as possible. And one of the big aspects of that is going to be the timely maintenance and the repairs for your property. Not only is it good for the maintenance and the condition of your property, but it's also about making sure that your tenants stay happy. My name's Conrad Bennett. I'm the Director of Business Development for EJF Rentals, a licensed realtor and longtime property manager. I've been in this industry a very long time, managed hundreds of properties, if not thousands, for hundreds of owners around the city, Northern Virginia and suburban Maryland. So we know what goes into attracting, finding, and keeping good quality tenants and keeping properties in good condition. Let's talk about why maintenance matters. It is statistically the top driver of tenant satisfaction. Happy tenants stay, frustrated tenants may leave. Costly repairs are the biggest variable in this equation. It's hard to track and budget when you have that surprise expense. Now, we talked about the benefits of doing these things proactively so that this doesn't happen, but there's really no way to keep something from popping up from time to time, no matter how diligent you may be. Reactive repairs are more costly. And of course, if you don't have a tenant that's vacating, you're reducing your turnover and vacancy loss. So those are huge expenses that you will see if not taking care of the property, not taking care of the tenant. And of course, it's going to ultimately protect your property value. Tenant satisfaction is closely tied to how well and how quickly maintenance issues are handled. Timely maintenance saves you money now and in the long run. It's critical to your bottom line. So even with proactive maintenance, things happen. We proactively inspect and maintain properties. Getting in periodically, every 6 months has been a really good cadence in terms of putting eyes on it, because ignorance is not bliss when it comes to property management. It's better to know and address the issues than it is to think all is well and find out later that it's not. Not only will it reduce the tenants' reported concerns, it will increase their enjoyment within the property. So if you're able to do an inspection and then ultimately have one vendor go and do a couple of things as opposed to these one-offs where they report a maintenance concern, you're going to be making your tenant happier because it's less traffic within the unit, allows for more quiet enjoyment of the space. But at the same time, it also is cutting down on those one-off independent costs, which inevitably are going to be more expensive. And doing those periodic repairs certainly help identify potentials for challenges later. I just went and met with a new owner the other day. He had a leak on the hot water heater that was leaving about an inch of water in the bottom of the drip pan. That's going to continue to erode and the hot water heater. And fortunately, we're able to get to this sooner than later. But imagine what 40 gallons of water is going to look like on the in the basement. A lot more work if we didn't attend to it. Those periodic repairs prevent major issues. Getting in, obviously, fixing the hinges is a lot cheaper than having to replace it or after the cabinet falls off. Checking on the garbage disposal, checking on the other appliances. All of these things can help defer those maintenance and major issues. HVAC is prime, especially this time of the year. Even though it's the end of the cooling season, we hope it's still nearly 100 degrees. So having the system serviced and making sure that the filters are being changed and that the condensate lines are being cleared and the coils are clean will ultimately help that system run more efficiently over time. No matter what you do as proactive, the tenants will still encounter an issue from time to time. The leaky faucet, the runny toilet, the dishwasher that may not be doing its best job. Occasionally they may notice a leak or two. Sometimes that leak may just be found at the unit below. Either way, point is that is no matter how proactive you are, there's still going to be some things that come up that need to be addressed. So let's talk about that. Speed and troubleshooting matter. The faster you're able to take action, the happier the tenant is, because everybody wants to be in the know as to where things are. Our team has been able to troubleshoot a lot of these issues. In fact, we have a whole troubleshooting guide to be able to resolve a lot of the questions that may come up, which saves our owners money. We don't have to send somebody out if we're able to walk through the solution with the tenant. Garbage disposals have always been the easiest example because some residents don't know that there's a reset button. They don't know how to use the Allen wrench to advance the blades. They may not even know to check the breaker box. All of those things are worked into our troubleshooting guide, but the faster we're able to respond to the tenant's concern, the faster we're able to walk them through that, the quicker we're able to assess whether or not a vendor has to go out to actually take care of the problem, or if it can be fixed free of charge to you. That ultimately is the goal. And when we can do it, great. Our team walks through those things. They're going to look at the transaction history to see how many times those complaints have come through and be able to navigate it as quickly and timely as possible. Many issues are able to be resolved with our team without having to send a vendor to visit the unit, which saves you a lot of time. And knowing how to triage and solve those problems quickly, that well-guided phone call is all it takes. If we're unable to make it through that, we will have to send some vendors. And having vendor depth is critical. Not just one handyman that does a few jobs for you here and there, not just one HVAC company, though everybody should have at least one vendor for the different responsibilities, but multiple vendors in any category will give you a lot more capacity when everybody's busy. We've had a lot of rains this summer. I'm sure that the roof and gutters and plumbers have been stretched to their max. We've had very long heat, 100-degree temperature days. HVAC companies are stretched to the limit. So when we have a really deep bench, it means we're not waiting on a person's schedule. We never wait for just one. If we get feedback that they're not able to get to it that day, the next day, we're going to the next one. And having multiple vendors that have this capacity is critical in this day and age in order to get these issues resolved as timely as possible. The faster the scheduling, the better the transparency, the competitive pricing, all this goes into play, but you want to make sure you're finding a vendor that can do the job right the first time, and ideally get there quick, get it resolved timely, and for a fair price. But our vendor bench is deep, generally up to 5 in any given category, and we're able to make those calls and go through the list to see who can get there fastest, all competitively priced. Now, of course, big difference between us and an individual owner doing this themselves. Those vendors do a lot of work for us. And so when we say we've got something that needs to get pumped to the head of the line, they're able to do it. We don't hear them say it's going to take me a week, it's going to take me a month. We're looking at a few hours to a few days and getting these things resolved as timely as possible. Now, I won't allude to the fact that not all jobs can be done within a few hours, but if you can take care of the overwhelming majority of the tasks in a very short period of time, as these issues do arise, that'll create a relationship with the tenant so that they know what to expect and they know the exceptions. The rule should be to be able to get these things done as timely as possible within 24 to 48 hours. If there's reason for a delay, and that happens, parts can be on back order, what have you, that will be the exception to the rule. And we'll talk about that because communication is essential. But we get the right people in fast and reliably. Now, tracking and transparency. You got to be able to track this stuff. There should be a centralized system, not only to log the complaint, the concern, but also to be able to track the repairs and be able to communicate effectively. With the portal that our tenants have access to, not only are they able to submit the maintenance request, give a description, even upload pictures, but then they're able to see this real time, creating that sense of urgency and transparency. So if a maintenance request came in right now for a plumbing concern, our team will reach out shortly, be able to do the troubleshooting, log that communication, If unable to resolve it, they're going to be able to dispatch the vendor, not only let you as the owner know that the vendor's being dispatched, but also the technician that's going to be sent. So they know who to expect and what their possibilities or availability may be. They're able to coordinate it. Tenants are even able to put in their availability for when they may be able to be home to be able to provide access. Or if we're going to need to make other arrangements, it's easily and discussed early in the conversation. Obviously, some things are more urgent than others, and that's critical for making sure that we get in as timely as possible. We also want to make sure that they know if there are any changes, if we're waiting on something, if the repair has been resolved prior to the vendor coming. All of this information is visible in the work orders that we're tracking, and owners and tenants are receiving timely updates to ensure that it's there. It also helps us keep that history of those repairs that were done over time, because that's really important to know in case there are things that are continuing to become problematic. Second time a microwave becomes an issue, or a dishwasher, or any other appliance, you may want to consider whether or not it's worth doing another repair or going another route the next time the issue comes up. That is, of course, if we've already eliminated user error from the equation. But this leaves no guesswork. It just leaves clear timelines, and our system keeps everyone informed. You know what's going on with your property every step of the way. We're doing all the heavy lifting, but we're going to keep you in the conversation so you know. We have had a handful of owners that want to do things themselves. Truth be told, doing it yourself isn't cheaper. More often than not, the issues need to be recorrected if it's not done well the first time. Knowing your capacity goes a long way. And keep in mind that your time is generally not tax deductible. I'm not an accountant, I can't give tax advice, but our fees are. So the stress and the delays and the inexperience costs more in the long run. I personally have had to do a lot of things that I don't love doing. It took me 4 weekends to paint my daughter's room. The next round I had hired somebody, they were in and out in a day. Well worth the investment to save back my time. Other situations like that are easy to become overwhelming and add to delays, which inevitably, especially with a turnover, will lead to prolonged vacancy, which is very avoidable. So it's well worth having somebody else go out and do these things as opposed to you taking your time to do it more often than not. But know your capacity. Keep in mind, property management is a business. You need to have professional systems for that long-term success. We have systems in place every step of the way to make sure that our team is navigating each and every single one of these concerns effectively so that our owners remain in the know, at least to be aware that the issue is being addressed and that there will be an expense associated with it. And then once the job has been completed, to everybody's satisfaction. Connecting with the tenants, ensuring that they are also in the same agreement that everything is all well. And this holistic approach certainly improves our tenant satisfaction, which leads to tenant retention. Over 90% of our residents remain with us year after year. So while we're saving you time and the stress and the money, it's going to produce great quality tenants and a property that remains in great shape. There are inevitably going to be issues that can take longer, and that's something that needs to be communicated even more effectively. So the bottom line, timely maintenance protects your investment. Happy tenants stay longer. That will produce long-term stability. And we're going to be able to manage the process from start to finish. I'll drop a couple questions into the Q&A section, and I've got a couple of minutes to help answer any questions anybody may have about this approach to maintaining your property and your tenant satisfaction. Elise, any questions?
Currently, there are no questions.
All right. Well, I greatly appreciate everybody's time. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if we're able to help relieve your time by taking over the management of your property.